Okay, well, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to get started here. Lots to cover, lots to do tonight. Um, we probably have some new faces in the crowd tonight. Had quite a few people sign up for the Patreon today, so I thought we would go over these new tiers that we just posted. They'll go basically in effect to tomorrow, um, but we have. Um, the two tiers that we always had, which was the main tier for just files only, and then we have a new tier, uh, which is the automation software. It's $10 a month. You can pick any one automation tool, or the level two option is to have access to all of the software tools we come out. We're going to showcase a new tool that we're working on tonight that we haven't showcased previously. So we are, you know, I have lots of ideas of where we need to go with different things. So we'll be coming out with more and more tools as time permits. So yeah, lots of different things I'm working on. And then the new tier here, where starting tomorrow, um, you can have access to the live classes that we do on Thursdays that are just for baddies, and also all of the software tools. But if you have not already joined, you still can join the $20 baddie tier, and everyone who's on that tonight will be grandfathered in at that $20 price point. So tomorrow, this $30 one will kick in. Okay, so that's how that works. So you will be getting all of the automation tools. Rhonda, the toolkit has not been released yet. We're going to probably showcase it a little bit tonight also, but and the reason for that, the reason that we decided to hold off on that was I really ideally would like to release the PC and Mac versions simultaneously. But to do that, the PC version's totally done, totally ready, because that's what I use day to day is my PC. But to make sure everything is functional on the Mac, I just haven't had time to do that yet. And so I didn't want the Mac folks hanging out there waiting and waiting and waiting. So I that's why I decided to go ahead and release the main portion, which is we'll go through it tonight too, which is the file exporter that I released the other day, because I could get the Mac and PC versions out the door. So nobody's left behind as far as that goes. So that's what my goal is to release it both simultaneously at the same time. So hopefully I will have time this week. I had some health issues. I was in the hospital. I had power outages. So, but hopefully this coming week, everything will go nice and smoothly, and I will be able to work on those and get those out the door also. So we are working on it for sure. So for those who may be new to our Patreon, um, one thing that we really want to point out to you is our different chat. Some of these are um, Patreon only, and some of them um, is a free for all for everybody. So let's go through those real quickly, because we have more and more chats now. So the chat prompt library is for baddie members and above. And we have a bunch of different chats that we share, and we encourage you to also share your chats. We're going to be doing Coralie's tonight. This is a chat that she shared with us, and so you're able to go in there and look at what she was trying to do, the prompts that she used to get to where she got to, and then we're just going to pick it up from where she left off and how we would tackle this project that she was working on. Last week, Jules had posted a chat that she was working on. So yeah, so these are all different logos and things that we've worked through that I've done personally to show you how we take what the customer gives us and how we turn it into a 3D model. So this can be really helpful, and we're going to go through a lot of these chats tonight. The mascot, we ask you to post whatever mascots you want, and as time permits, we do go like this one I posted the other day, a video on how I did it, and the finished file. So if you have a particular logo or something that you want, we encourage you to get it posted here. And as time permits, I will work through it. We're going to do this one tonight, in fact. And I think we're going to do that one. I did a video on this one already. We're probably going to tackle this one. So there's this one here. So yeah, we're going to be working through some of these tonight. So again, this if you go to our Patreon, you don't have to be a paid member. You could just come in here and post your whatever mascot you want. Here is a chat that is specific to this new exporter tool, and you could see some people were having some issues with their files, and so that's why we encourage you to post any questions or issues you have. You can see we get all kinds of different screenshots of issues and things so we can address them. Which brings me to another point about registration keys. So as long as you're a member of our Patreon, you'll have access to the software. When you open it up right now, it says you're in a 14-day demo mode, and that's because this is just a beta version. This is not the final version. So when we do release the final version, then you'll get a registration key. But because these are just beta versions, we're not going to create registration keys just yet. So there will be some updates. In fact, we already had one update already. Version 1.29 for PC users is what we should be at. But you can see some people are getting some error messages. And so we need you to post this error message like this one in particular. We might look at this tonight. You see here, it says that there is no supported native vector geometry records were found. And when I looked at the file she sent me, I found out that there was no vector data in the Silhouette Studio file, and therefore it cannot be converted. So part of the problem could be the way the file was created, and part of the problem could be our tool and how it's interpreting that 3D Studio file. So that's why we ask you to post it here in the chat, so we can address any issues that we need to address. So you see here it says RJ, he installed it, but he said he can't get past the activation screen. Well, all you have to do is click on continue demo. So that's it. And then the software opens and away you go. So that's how you get past. Now, if he's not able to do that, well, then that's another story. But that's all you need to do is just click on continue, and it will allow you to continue. And then we also had another tool, a week, 10 days ago, which is a very specific tool for batch processing logos on various different products and different templates. And some people were having some issues. Some people, didn't have any issues. So we have a separate chat for that tool if you're running into any issues with that one, so we can address it. And then finally is our different class projects that you would like to see done. We're probably going to tackle this one maybe next week. This little tip jar, I guess. Show you how you would do that. And so yeah, so there's there's we did this cheer stick the other night, and then we did Marcos's Jaguars logo the other night as well. So yeah, so we do definitely want you to post here. We definitely use this as a tool for different projects. So we definitely want you to continue to post your ideas and so forth. All right. So that's that. So we got that taken care of. real quickly here on, for those who may be new, of course, here on our YouTube channel, All Things Creative, we've got all kinds of new videos that we've been posting. This was an issue. One of the users was having a problem with their Silhouette Studio file not processing with the new tool, and that was the one that didn't have any vector data in the design. Looks like they just imported the image and that was it. So that's why that particular Silhouette file was not processing properly. But then we have several different hype chain videos, how we converted some hype chains and all kinds of different things, keychains and all sorts of things. So if you haven't checked out all those videos since our last class, there's been quite a few that has been added. And I have more to process and post too. I just haven't done it yet. But I do want to point out too, for those, especially those new Patreon members, in regards to past classes, if you come here to playlists, so when you go to our YouTube channel and you come here to playlists, this is where you want to be, right here. It says live class library. And when you pull that up, you're going to have all of the previous classes that we've had. You'll have access to those. Okay. So, and that's where our class tonight will be posted tomorrow. We'll add to that playlist. Okay. What else? Basically it, as far as the YouTube channel goes. And if you aren't already a member of our Facebook group, we encourage you to do that. So now we can go ahead and get started on our first project here. So let's go back to our chats here and take a look at a project. So we're going to go to our prompt library here and just, we're going to start with Coralie's project because I think it's a nice, simple, easy project. So let's back up to her chat. Take a look at that one first. And what she was trying to do here is create this as a badge reel, okay? And see here, this is the chat that she prompted, and this is what it gave her. And then she asked for some more details and some more details. And then this actually gave her a 3MF file. This was an SVG file that she could download and use. Now, the problem is, based on my experience anyhow, for something like this, chat doesn't give us very good SVG files to work with. Now, some people say, oh, I don't have no problem with their chat. And it's really true that the more you use your chat, the more it learns what you want. And it could just be that my chat hasn't developed the skills to give me a good SVG file yet. Because more often than not, especially with something a bit more complicated like this, we're not going to get a real quality SVG. If we download this SVG, we do get an SVG, but when we look at it in detail, it's not very good. So, but the good thing about this is this design is simple enough where we don't really need chat to make it for us. Like it just takes a couple of minutes and we can knock it out ourselves. So it probably just as easy to do it ourselves than to try and make chat do it for us. So, so anyhow, that's what we're going to do. So that was Coralie's project. So now we'll go and find ours, and I'll show you what I did here. When you're in this chat prompt, we can't click on the image. You have to click on this link, the actual link. This will just take you to chat, but this link will take you to this specific chat. So when we click on it here, you'll see it'll open up here and give us all of our images and what we're looking to do here. So it lost her original image for some reason, not sure why. But you see here, it says, I just took her original image, and the only prompt I gave it was to convert it to black and white only. And so you could see it did just exactly that. Now, why? Why did I do that? Well, the reason I did that is because Inkscape does a very good job of converting black and white images to SVG files. And not everyone wants to use that vectorizer AI website. So when we are dealing with a color image, we could come over here to vectorizer AI and convert our chat image to an SVG file. This website does a very, very good job, but it's $10 a month. That's the only catch. So if you're only using it on a rare occasion, maybe if the $10 a month is not worth it for you. So I try to show you, well, how do you get to the end result just with a black and white image. So that's what we're going to work through right now. So we're going to right click here and copy the image here from chat. And then let's go ahead and open up Inkscape here. And I would encourage you guys, if you have a project that you want to have made, that's one of the advantages of being a Batty tier member is you can submit, your design that you're trying to do yourself, and we could do it together in class. And then you don't have to pay me to do it, and you get your design done, and you don't have to waste your time doing it. So anyhow, we're here in Inkscape now, and we're going to right click and paste. And so there's our black and white image. And then we're going to right click here and we're going to trace this bitmap. And then doesn't really matter what these settings actually are when we're dealing with a black and white image. So we just hit apply. Bob's your uncle, there is our vector version of our design. And we could tell that by going into outline mode here, you see? So all those outlines, that is our vector artwork. Now, let's go back over here to our chat history and get her original image that she used, which is right here. So we're going to just right click and copy this image and then come back into Inkscape and paste it. Okay, now in Inkscape, when you see this big red box like this, you say, well, what in the world's happening here? That just means we're in outline mode. That's all that means. So if we go back into normal mode, now you can see we see our image right away here. Now, there are a couple of issues that we have to work through. And one of the reasons why I picked this specific image is to show you some of the little tips and tricks that we have to know how to do in Inkscape anyhow. So if you look here, we have two flowers, right? We have our little pink flowers here, and then we have our pink heart. But down here, everything is black. And more importantly, everything is black, but you can see it's all one shape, right? So one of the skills we have to develop is how do we split objects up, right? So that's what we're going to show you how to do, because this is a really simple little task here. So I just need to make this flower up top a separate shape from the rest of it so I can give that a different color like it was originally. So to do this, we're going to use our pen tool, and it's right over here. It's this tool right here. You see, we have a pencil tool and a pen tool, and they're both very similar. I typically will use my keyboard shortcut, which is B for boy. And now you can see my cursor has changed to a pen, and we just click right here, click right here, click right here, and click right there, and then just right click. Okay, so you see kind of what we've created there. It's just a little path. Now, if we want to, we can just double click on our path, and we could pull this out, something like that. And so we have that shape there, okay? And now what we could do is we can go ahead and cut this. So we take our path and we shift click here on the big path. And when I come up here to path and difference, You see what it did? It chopped that top part off. Now, something kind of strange happened, right? But if we go back into regular mode here, you see what's happened here? There's a fill. So if I give it no fill, and then I do the same thing again, then we should get a slightly different result. So path and division. Now, before we used difference, but I meant to use division. And now that piece, you see, I chopped its head off. It's now separated. And that's what we needed to do. And we need to do the same thing to this one. So let's just go back to our pen tool. So you could see here, if we were just doing it, and shift click here, and it will do the same thing, path and division. See, we chopped its head off. And then we have to do the same thing down here on our heart. So we'll do that real quick. Pen tool, click and click and click. Right click to end that, and then same thing here. Click, 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 right click. And there we go. Okay. So we will take each one of these separately here, and we will go ahead and break these. So we'll go back to path and division. And then this one, shift click our heart again, path and division. So now you see that heart is now separated there. All right, so that is kind of step number one, okay? So that we've got that out of the way. Now what we need to do is we need to take this whole design at large and bust everything up. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll do path and break apart here. And now we have a bigger mess here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our toolkit here. So we're going to go into extensions. And this is, of course, the one that you guys don't have just yet, but you're getting it. So hopefully this time next week, you'll have it. That's kind of what my goal is. But anyhow, we could switch between outline mode and normal mode by clicking the little monitor icon. Okay. Hold on just a second. I have to text somebody real quick. All right. So anyhow, the monitor icon will allow us to switch back and forth from outline mode to normal mode. And then we can begin this process of kind of rebuilding this design the way we need to. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take everything and we're just going to shift click this outside piece and this outside piece. And let's just temporarily turn everything else off. Okay, so we'll just hit the little eye icon that turns everything off. So now we're just dealing with this. Now it's really important for us to understand when we're creating artwork how we want our 3D print to be. And I'm going to create this with the idea that we're going to print this completely flush. This is going to be for a badge reel. So the design in this particular case is just going to be completely flush. Okay. So that will help us with our design work in general here. So let's go back. We'll click on our little monitor icon here. And let's go ahead and begin this process. So we're going to start with this outside piece, the very outside piece. We're going to grab our eyedropper tool and we can come in here and click. And now you see that this outside piece is now the same green color as that piece. Now we're going to put this in the very back. So we're going to right click here on this icon. And now you see we have this piece. which we can go back to our eyedropper tool and click. And now that piece is now the same color, right? Now we turned all those other pieces off. You see all those other pieces? So let's go ahead and turn those back on here. So we'll just right click on our eyeball to do that. And those will all be turned back on, but we can't see them. So we're going to move all of those pieces to the front by just clicking on this icon right here. And that will move everything to the very top of our layer stack here. Now let's see what we've got going on here. This piece and this piece, let's move it down. There we go. So now you can kind of see what we've got going on here. So this piece here, the flower, let's go ahead and combine it. This icon is our combine tool. Okay, as is this one. Now this one's already combined, so we don't have to worry about that. You see, this is attached to this for some reason. So when we right click on this icon, that will split that up. So now this is all by its lonesome here. So we can go ahead and click on combine. And now you see that piece and this piece are now separated from the rest of it. Okay, so again, we can select our piece, grab our eyedropper tool and just start. We can grab this piece and our eyedropper tool. Okay, we know that this piece here is going to be pink. This piece here going to be pink. And this one here is also going to be pink. Okay. Now, the rest of this down here, this can all be combined. So there's some pieces here that we can't even see. So we'll just combine all of that into one, and that's what this one does, union. But we don't want to use union in this particular case. So we're going to go ahead and undo that step that we just did. Now, the reason that we don't want to use union is because we want these to be cut out. So in that case, we would use combine. That was my mistake. But see now, that is now combined and those pieces were cut out. So now we can go ahead and set that to the same green color here. What have we got left here? We've got these two that we need to turn pink. Okay. And then we need to grab the crew here. So let's see how we're going to do this. I think the easiest thing for us to do is to go ahead and take these two pieces and turn them off because it'll be easier to grab these other pieces that we need to grab. So we're going to use our Alt key here. And when we do that, you see that red line that we're dragging through? That will pick up everything that red line crosses. And we'll go ahead and choose combine. And then we're going to do the same thing up here. Just like so. And let's go ahead and combine that. And looks like we missed one right there. So we'll go ahead and combine that. So now our cafeteria is actually all one piece. And I just remembered it can't be because we want all these different colors. So no worries. We'll just break it back apart. And then we'll just take it letter by letter and combine letter by letter so we can give each one of those letters a different color here. Okay, so now each one of those letters are still a separate letter, and then the word crew here, let's go ahead and change that to green. And let's see here, our C here, and we're going to shift click our A. Those two are both going to be green. And then what do we have? Our A and our T and our I are all going to be pink. So that takes care of those. And then our F and our E is going to be that brown color. And then finally, the E and the R are going to be that gold color. All right. So now we have our artwork basically the way we need it to be. So now we can kind of fine tune and finesse this a little bit. Now, one of the reasons that we want to go through the hassle of creating our SVG like this is so that we can make shirts, we could make stickers, we could do all kinds of different things now that we have a nice clean SVG file. And certainly we can make our badge reel cover as well. So let's go ahead and take this design here and resize it. Now the badge reel cover that we're going to be using is 37 millimeters in diameter. So we're going to resize our artwork here to be 40 millimeters tall, but obviously you can make it whatever you want. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So there we go. Now, we don't have to do any more to this design for what we're about to do. This particular design, our work is done. It doesn't matter that it's 100,000 pieces here because we're going to be printing totally flat, so it doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and save this. And we're just going to save it to our desktop. And of course, for those of you who may be new here, you will get the SVG file here, as well as the finished badge reel cover that you can print if you so desired. So there you go. So now what we can do is we can go into Bamboo and convert this into a 3D model. But this is where the new tool really shines. And whether you're on a PC or Mac, it works the same exact way. If we were to have gone through and created the artwork in Silhouette Studio, like we just did in Inkscape, it would work the same way. So what we're about to show you here. So normally what we would do is we would create our artwork, and then we would bring that artwork into Bamboo. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we have our artwork here, which is our Coralie badge reel, and there's our artwork. And the way this works is when you bring in an SVG file into Bamboo, it brings it in 10 millimeters thick, which is wonderful. But you see, we don't have our filament colors that we need for our project. So we'd have to go through and set all those up. And then also, when we go into the Objects tab here, you could see all we have is 20 different pieces that we would have to specify the colors for and all of that. And all of that is very, very time consuming. Now, if we were going to create this badge reel in Tinkercad, each one of these pieces would have to be a separate SVG file, and that is no fun. Saving each piece as a separate SVG file and then turning around and importing each one of those pieces, no thank you. So fortunately, now we have a solution for that, right? So let's go ahead and open it up here. Now I have mine set up just the way you guys have yours set up. So you're going to get this registration screen. I'm just going to bypass that. So you see this button, continue the demo. See, I got 12 days remaining, just like you guys. So there we go. Now we're just going to drag and drop that file. Boom. Okay, that's it. And you can see now our 3D model has been created right here. So now we can come in here and we're going to go ahead and open up that file. So there's the file that was created for us. But all of the colors, everything is ready to go for us here. You see that? So that is a massive time saver. And all of our filament colors have already been pre-populated for us. So now all we have to do is specify how this exactly is going to be situated here. So, so for our badge reel, I would probably make this either like 2 or 3 millimeters thick So for our example, we're going to go ahead and make it 3. So we're going to go to our scale tool, and we'll just make it in the Z here. We're going to make it 3 millimeters thick. Okay. So now everything is 3 millimeters thick. You see that? Now, if we slice this, let me show you what's going to happen here. Let's go ahead and slice it. This is what's going to happen. Okay, so we get the look that we're looking for. First of all, I want to point that out. But if we come underneath and take a look underneath, you see this? And really, we don't want to see that. Okay, so we need to fix that. I don't really want to see that like that underneath there. So it's a pretty easy fix. Now, we don't have it actually attached to our badge reel yet, but we're going to do that here in just a second. But I just wanted to show you that first step there. So what we're going to do here is this first piece right here, we're going to go ahead and just duplicate it. So we're going to hit Control-C, Control-V. We made a duplicate. And then we're going to go ahead and set the thickness of that one piece. We're going to set it to, let's just go ahead and do 1.5 millimeters. Okay. And then for the Z height, we want it to be half of 1.5. So in this case, it's 0.75. Okay, now let's reslice and you'll see what we've got going on here. See, we have a nice solid back now. Okay, and that's what we wanted. So it's really important for us to understand how, all the different pieces work and what we're ultimately after, because if we don't understand what we're after, then we're not going to be able to create the artwork for it. So we have to kind of like envision what it is we're actually going to wind up printing here. And now if you decide, what, I want all of this to be 2 millimeters thick, you can do that. So we'll just come in here and make it 2 millimeters thick, because maybe 3 millimeters is too thick. And then we'll go ahead and reslice it at 2. And see, we still get the exact same result. It's just a little bit thinner now. That's the only difference. Okay. So for this particular project, what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do a 180 flip here. Okay. And let's reslice it just so we can understand again what's actually happening here. So now you see the top is solid green, and then the bottom is where the color information is. All right, and that's what we wanted to do there. Now let's go ahead and take this and right click and center it to our build plate, which it already was. And then let's go ahead and import our badge reel cover and see how that's going to work. So let's go ahead and do that. And I put that right here. Now this cover is something I downloaded off of MakerWorld. Okay, this cover right here. And this is the bottom. So we're going to have to rotate it around because this is the bottom of our design. So let's do that. All the way around here, right there. Okay. Now we're going to take this and right click and center it to the build plate. Okay. You see that there? And then what we want to do is we want to move this piece up in the Z. So you see how it does completely cover, right? But we want to move this up in the Z here. So in order to move this up, we have to first combine these two. So Control key. So we have the one selected, and Control key, right click and merge. And then let's take this piece. So we have to alt click it and move it up. We're just going to move this up like so. Okay. Now, this is 2 millimeters thick. Okay. And the plate here on our badge reel cover is, I believe it is also 2 millimeters thick. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine these two together. But that right there is going to sit flush on the back side of this. All right. So in order to make this happen, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to go ahead and select our assembly, go to our assembly tool, and we're just going to click. So you see that highlighted blue face? And then we're going to come up here and click on this one and zero that value out. And now that is sitting right there flush. Okay. So now when we slice this, there you go. So you see how that all going to work there? So all that's going to be combined and be able to slap your badge reel in there, and there you go. Okay. So that's how you do that. So it's pretty straightforward, but you got to know a little bit about what's going on here. Now I do want to show you something else real quick here that I noticed, and that is, you notice we have a couple of pinks. We have what, 3 greens going on here, and that's because when we were in Inkscape, we weren't real careful. We were using that eyedropper tool, and we weren't real careful to make sure all of our pinks were the same pink. All of our greens were the same greens. But it brings another important point, is you have to understand how this slicer works. So if you look here in the objects panel, you see where these parts are 1, 2, 3, 1. What we're looking for is any part, any green that's not 1. Okay, so as we see here, we have greens that are 5s. We have greens that are 6s. There's a 5. There's a 5. Those are 1s. Let's go through the list here real quick. Okay, so all we have to do now is just hit 1. Okay, and now you notice here we only have 1 green, and that's what we wanted. Now we have 2 pinks, so our pink should be 3. So any pink that is not 3, we're just going to control click on. Right, so we go through our list here. If we were a little bit more careful in Inkscape, we wouldn't have this issue, but we weren't, which is no worries. Okay, so now we have all of our 4s. Let's make them all 3s. And now you can see, now we're back to just 5 colors. And then Coralie's going to have to make a decision, is do we actually print with 5 colors? Maybe she has a double AMS unit, or do we sacrifice gold for brown or some other colors so we can reduce it down to 4 colors? But there you go. That's how it works. Okay. So now that one is taken care of.
What about the warning sign?
Okay. Yes. Good catch there. It's telling us that we have floating cantilevers. Okay. And the reason it's saying that is because of these little guys right here, these little wings. Now, if you had paid attention on the group a few days back, I had posted a couple of different videos on where they were showing you how to adjust your bridge settings, where you wouldn't have to have supports. And this may be one of those cases where if you know your printer, that because this is a relatively small overhang, right? This is relatively small. We should be able to dial in our printer and avoid having to have supports there. There's lots of video demonstrations on YouTube and such about adjusting your printer, where they do like really big actual bridges, where they literally printing in midair. But it has to do with how much filament they're extruding, whether or not the cooling fan is going, even the filament temperature. There's a lot of variables that go into making your printer be able to print in midair, and that's essentially what's happening here. So if you want to take the time and really dial in your printer and really understand it, you'll be able to print this and a lot of other things without supports. But if you just want it down and dirty, you could do that too. You just select that, and we come here to supports, and boom, click on supports. When I do use supports like this, we will click support critical regions only. And then down here under advanced, for the top Z distance, I would use 0.28. And then for top interface layers, I usually use 4. And that will help make those supports come off easier. So if I reslice it now, you see it says slice OK, and that's what we want. And we get these little baby supports right there. And all they're doing is just supporting that one edge. But even if you did have supports here, it doesn't matter because obviously this area is not seen. So, your badge reel is going to fit right in there. So, and these supports will come off super easy anyhow. So, but in certain other instances, you don't want to use supports because it is on the finished side of your model. So, for this particular case, we'll just throw some supports in there, and the added print time is minimal. The added filament usage is minimal here. So that's how you take care of that. And yeah, if you guys have questions or something you want to see over again, feel free to stop me. I'm happy to backtrack. And of course, this is all recorded, so you will be able to go back and rewatch this again if you so desire. So,
Can you tell me again how you did the distance? Because I always have problems removing those trees, for the support. What is the setting that you use?
Sure. Let me go back here. We'll just open that one up. So if you go into support here, down here under the top Z distance, so this is under the advanced settings. So because it's under advanced, you probably have to have that toggle also turned on, right? So you have to have this toggle turned on, otherwise you won't see these options. But anyhow, if you come down here, you'll see the top Z distance right there of 0.28. And then the top interface layers of 4. And then that will help those remove super, super easy. You should have no problem removing those supports if you use those 2 settings.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, honestly, why that is not the default, because when I'm using tree supports, I use that every single time. So I'm not sure why that's not the default. All right, so that takes care of that one. Now let's go in and go back to our chats here. Let's pick another project here. Let's do this one quick. I don't think he's with us tonight, but this was a Patreon member. We'll kind of do this in order of complexity. So this was the artwork that was provided, really tiny little postage stamp artwork, but we asked chat just to clean it up a little bit for us, and they gave us a much better rendition of the artwork. But what we need for our height chain is we need this outline here. So you see that? Now we could do this in Inkscape or Silhouette Studio, but I just said, hey, chat, could you just do it for me? And so you could see here, I told it how wide it's going to be. And then I told it that I needed a 4mm offset. And that's really important, because had we just asked for a 4mm offset, well, a 4mm offset based on what, right? It could be based on anything. So anyhow, we tell it, okay, this is going to be 150 millimeters wide. I need a 4mm offset, and then it gives us exactly what we're expecting when we give it that reference image. I didn't see that this nose was clipped off here. So we could fix that in Inkscape, or we could just have chat fix it for us. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll just make chat fix it for us. Okay, chat, this looks pretty good, but when we added the offset outline, it's clipped just a little bit on the left-hand side by the nose. If you could fix that and add like a 1/2 inch white margin around the entire image. I'm currently printing the longest print job I've ever attempted to print. It was 22 hours. I started yesterday, so it should be, well, it's pretty close to being done. It's probably got a couple hours left yet. Okay, so yes, you could see it did fix our issue there. So that's good. So now we can right click and choose copy image, and then we can jump right into Inkscape here. One thing about using the toolkit, it doesn't like it when you have multiple versions of Inkscape open, or multiple copies, I should say. We're going to fix it, but that is one thing that we just have to be mindful. We only have one copy of the Inkscape open at a time. So here is our image, and just like previously, we are going to right click and trace bitmap, and then we're simply going to hit apply, and there we go. That's our image. Now we have this little hairline block around it, which we don't want. So let's go ahead and open up the toolkit here, and we'll walk through how we're going to go about this one. This one's going to be a little bit easier, I think, than the one that we did previously. So just like we did previously, though, we're going to select our image here. And the first thing we're going to do is right click here. That right click is break apart. Okay, so now we've broken that apart. And then we're going to alt click. You see that red line I just created there? Anything that red line crosses over gets selected, which in this case is just that box. Now you see here we've got two outlines. So let's go ahead and get rid of one because we don't need that one. So this far outside one, we're just going to select it and then hit the delete key. Okay, and then that's what we've got. So this very outside piece here, we can go ahead and make it white. Let's send it to the bottom. So this icon right here, we can right click. And if you look here in the toolkit at the bottom, you see it says left, raise to the top, right, lower to the bottom. So it tells you what these tools do. So when you're, eventually it'll kind of all become second nature to you. But until it does, that gives you a little hint as to what the tool actually does. So we're going to right click and move it to the bottom there. And so there you go. Now that's to the bottom. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to take the LARK here, and let's go ahead and combine that together. So that is a left click here. This piece we're going to leave separate. And then this piece here is separate. And it looks like we have another little piece right there. Looks like we do. So that must have been like a nostril or something there. So we'll shift click that, and we'll go ahead and combine that together. That's what that was. Okay. So now I think that is it. If we look at the original image, and then we look at our new vector image, that is basically all it was there. Now we're going to do something a bit experimental here, but I just want to show you. It might be interesting. It might not be. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But right now we have this piece here, and we have this piece here, this piece here, and this piece here. Okay. And I'm just going to hit Control Z to back up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take everything and we're going to duplicate it. Okay, so Control D to duplicate. And it just created a whole nother group right on top of what we already previously had. And what I want to do here is I want to take this and shift click the white and trim. So this right here is really called difference in Inkscape. So we go ahead and trim, and then do the same thing with our C, shift click, trim, and then our main piece here, shift click and trim. Okay. Now, what did we just do here? Well, this is what we just did. You see that? Now, of course, you're going to ask, well, why did we do that? Well, I'm going to show you why when we get over into Bamboo. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where we have to understand what we ultimately want to print. And in order to create the necessary artwork, we have to know how we want this model to turn out in the end. So what we're going to do here is we're going to resize this. We're going to make a height chain is what we're going to do here. So we're going to resize this to $150 here. Okay, so now that's 150 millimeters wide. Let's go ahead and save this, and we'll call it Clark. Okay, so there's Clark. And then let's go ahead and just minimize this. Go back out here. And so here is Clark. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and generate our 3D model. So we're going to just drag and drop here into this tool that we posted the other day. And so there is our 3D model. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open that up here in Bamboo. So we hit Control O and open it up. And this is what we get. Okay, so it comes in 10 millimeters thick by default. And we did not name our parts in Inkscape because this is really a simple little project. So I didn't feel like it was worth taking the time to do that. All right. But we're going to turn this into a height chain. So this is what I call my height chain protocol. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our first piece here, which is our back plate, and we're going to set that to 8 millimeters thick. Okay. So now that's 8 millimeters thick. And then our next piece here, you can see Clark is highlighted here, and we're going to make that 2 millimeters thick. And then our C, and just for fun, let's make it 4. Okay. And then that's why I did not combine those together in Inkscape, because I wanted this C to be a little bit more extruded than the rest. And then 5 here is our main piece. Let's go ahead and extrude that to 2 millimeters. And then finally, I don't know if we're going to use this piece or not, but let's go ahead and for right now, let's go ahead and make it 4 millimeters. Okay. I'll show you what that piece is going to be here momentarily. So now that we have all of our pieces defined of how thick we're ultimately going to want, and you'll see that when you start creating artwork and key, certain things, we use the same extrusion values over and over and over again. Like for keychains and height chains and certain things, we use the same exact. When we're doing lamps, they're either typically 75 millimeters or 100 millimeters thick. Same values over and over and over again. But we're going to start here. This is our main backplate here, and because it's 8. The Z height will be half of that. In order for that to be printing on the build plate, the Z height has to be 4. Okay, and that's what it is. Now let's go over to this piece here, the piece that I don't know if we're ultimately going to keep or not. But let's just use this piece right here. Are we going to keep this piece? We set the Z height to be 4, or excuse me, the extrusion thickness is 4. But when we come to the move tool, that's where we choose how far that sits off the build plate. All right. And so for this case, our back plate was 8. This is 4. And half of 4 is 2. 2 plus 8 is 10. So we're going to set the Z height here for 10. Okay. So now you see what we've got going on there? We've got like this channel that we just made, right? You see that? So now we're just going to keep going here, and you'll see how this all comes together. So now we'll go back to our black pieces here. Now, this one we extruded to 2. Again, it's going to sit on top of this 8 millimeter back plate. And so therefore, this is going to be 9. Why 9? Well, it's 2 millimeters thick. Half of 2 is 1, plus the 8 millimeter back plate. 8 and 1 is 9. Okay, so that's where we get 9 from. But because it's 9, you see what we did here? You see how you have that little bit of a reveal. Had we not made that extra piece, it would look like this. So we'll just delete that. And it would look like that, which is fine. And we may ultimately decide we like that better. I don't know. But that's why we made that extra piece, is sometimes I like that extra little reveal there. All right, so let's just keep moving here. So the C, remember we did that 4. Half of 4 is 2. 2 plus 8 is 10. Okay, now what happens here is our C is completely flush with this white. If we leave it like it is, it's completely flush with the white. And we may like that, we may not like that. I think I don't like that. I think I would rather have that sticking out above or possibly a little bit below, one way or the other. I don't want it flush, I don't think. But this other piece here, let's go ahead and make it 9 because it was extruded too thick, and then half of 2 is 1, and then 1 plus 8 is 9. And so you could see it too has a little bit of a recess there. So I think what we'll do to satisfy this is just go ahead and lower this piece a little bit here. So I alt click on it, and it's currently at 10. Let's back it off to 9. And we accomplish a couple of different things here. First of all, that depth isn't quite as much, but you see how the C is now slightly raised above the white? And I think I kind of prefer that a little bit better here. So let's go ahead and save this. So you can see how once we finish the artwork in Inkscape, we run it through our little converter tool, then we just come in here to Bamboo, set our extrusion thicknesses, set our Z heights. We don't have to monkey with all of our filament colors and all of that. We don't have to recolor our shapes. You know, all that work is done for us, okay? So now we have our height chain pendant. Now, we're going to come back out here to the toolkit, and now that we have our height chain pendant, we can right-click here where it says Generate 3MF, and we'll click on Create Height Chain, and we can go ahead and select our pendant. And this is going to just create everything for us. It's going to create us a Cuban variant of a height chain, a standard height chain, and it's going to automatically create our keychains. And here is where we define how big of a keychain we want. But we're just going to go ahead and click on Create. Just that quick. Done and dusted here. So let's go ahead and open up that layout. See what it created for us. It takes the name and just adds height chain to it. So it's Clark height chain here. So there you go. So now we have just the pendant by itself and the regular height chain here. And then we have the Cuban variant here. And then, of course, we have all of our keychains ready to go for us. Okay, now up here, we have a couple of different things we want to address. Number one, you notice how we have black, white, black, and white. Well, we don't need that because, you know, the design is strictly black and white. So just like we did previously with Coralie's project, we need to go through here and find out what's happening here. So the Cuban chain is a 2-color chain, as you can see, and that's always going to be color 1 and 2 is always going to define the Cuban. So what we need to do for our pendant is these pendant pieces either need to be 1 or 2. So when we come in here, you see here, this is Cuban. So you see it says 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Just keep scrolling down, keep scrolling. You see right there, it says pendant attachment is color number 3. But no, we don't want pendant attachment, color number 3. That has to be 1. So any 3 has to be 1. So that's a 3, and that's a 3. So those 2 need to be 1. And now you can see we only have 1 block of white here. So same thing with our 4s. They need to be 2s. Okay, and now you can see we have just a little bitty bit of prime tower, just black and white. Okay, that's pretty straightforward stuff there. Now, we can adjust how this pendant attaches to the Cuban. So let's scroll back down here. And we'll start right here. These are all of our pendant pieces. So then we can go ahead and move and we can just slide them up a little bit on this little connector here, put that wherever we want it to be. Okay. And that's it. That's all we have to do now. All these build plates are ready to print just as they are. So we're going to go ahead and resave this. But instead of doing those steps over and over and over and over and over again, it was just so much easier to program the toolkit to say, hey, just make it for us, because we're going to redo these steps over and over and over again. Even if the customer doesn't ask for a keychain, we always make keychains, because if you make it and you print it, I promise you, you will absolutely sell them. So, so I highly encourage you. It's cheap to do, so might as well give them a little extra. If they weren't expecting it, they'll probably like that. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll start a new project here. I want to show you something. I kind of forgot I was going to lead with this, and then kind of forgot that I wanted to show you this, because I think this is something you guys can definitely use. A lot of what I think about in terms of automation tools, I think about it because it's something that I needed for my workflow, and then I didn't have it. So I was like, well, let me just make a tool that will do what I want to do. And so in Adobe Illustrator, in CorelDRAW, and other vector graphics programs, we can draw out a shape. So I'm just going to draw out a shape here. I'll just give you a quick little demo here. So let's say I want this shape here, okay? And what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to take some text, and I want this text to automatically fit into that shape. And I don't know if this exists, honestly, in Silhouette Studio. Maybe some of your Silhouette Studio users could tell me. But in Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, I know in CorelDRAW it's called the envelope tool. I'm not sure what it's called. It may well be the envelope tool in Adobe Illustrator too, but we're going to pick a specific font that I like for this example here. So there's our font, okay? So now we do have to convert it to a path first, but, and let's go ahead and give this a different color maybe. And we're going to make a duplicate of it just so you could see how this all works. But we're going to take our text and take our shape. So we'll shift click the shape, and then we come in here and down here, the envelope tool right here. And we click on that. We'll hit apply. And our shape will take on the shape of our bounding box. So we can use any bounding box we want and be able to make our text fit it. And let's go ahead and send this one to the back here, just so you can see. So you see our text is the same size as our bounding box there. And so that will be really helpful for you. So we could, imagine, for example, if you had like this template. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this. So imagine you had a situation like this, okay, where, let's go ahead and delete that. So let's say you were to design a template like this, right? And up here, maybe you got a football in the middle, right? And so you want to put Wilson High School, for example, or whatever, right? You could just type out your text, and then it will automatically conform to that template that you have. But Inkscape itself doesn't have that functionality. Monique, what project did you ask about? We could probably do it, but I don't know exactly.
No, I didn't ask for about any projects. Thank you, Kevin.
It says, can we get to my project if we have time tonight? Well, that wasn't you. Oh,
Nope, it was not me.
the wand. Okay, I got you. Okay, so anyhow, so that's the concept there, where you can set up these templates and be able to put in custom text and have it take on that shape, and but you could do all kinds of different setups that way.
Hi, my name is Monique as well.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about the one that I showed you for the cornbread.
Oh yes. Uh-huh. All right. Well, I'll see if we have time for that. But otherwise I can do it separately. But anyhow, yes, I wanted to show you that. All right, now let's go back into our chat's history here. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and knock this one out because I know Kim is here waiting patiently. So let's go ahead and take a look at what she sent us here. And I think this is a good example of, so this is a printed notebook. And so she's looking to make more of these. And so we just asked chat to, hey, make us something similar to the reference image provided. And so you could see it did a reasonably good job based on the reference image. And then this was the back of the cover. And so we asked it, hey, could you do that for us? And so it went ahead and created that for us as well. And this is technically not a black and white image, but it is just two simple colors. So we can take advantage of this artwork just like we did with our black and white images here. So let's go ahead and we'll just right click and copy our image and come in here to Inkscape and right click and paste, and then right click and trace bitmap. Okay, you can see that's what it's going to give us. Go ahead and click on apply. And now we have our vector version of this file. Now we're not going to use it exactly the way it is, but let's go ahead and do the other one. Get that one going. So we're going to right click and copy that image, and then back over here, we'll paste it, apply, and now we have the vector version of this one. So we're going to start here with this background image. And the first thing, just like we had done previously with our other designs, we're going to right click here to break it apart. We're going to swipe through up top here because we don't need the outlines. We just needed the artwork. Now, in this particular case, this artwork is all going to be flat. So it's going to be on a notebook cover. So it's just going to be totally flat. So this will work just fine for our example here. And then over here, what are we going to do? We're going to do the same thing. First of all, we're going to break it apart. So we're going to right click on this icon to break it apart. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to zoom in here a little bit and figure out what we don't need. So I'm going to just grab my pen tool and just drag out a line just like that. Okay. And we're just going to swipe right through it here. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to do the same thing. Just like this. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to swipe through these two. So I select them both. And then we're going to combine just those two pieces. Now, let's go ahead and look at it in normal mode here just so we can see it a little bit better. Okay. Then we'll turn it back off again. Yeah, let's go back to wireframe mode. That'll be fine. So we're going to take this piece that we made and shift click on this piece. And then we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and use division here. And then we're going to do the same thing up here. So we're going to click here and we'll use division as well. Okay, now what we should do here is this top piece. You can see it's actually not cut. Even though we have this piece, let's back up a couple steps here and find out what's going on here. Those two pieces should have been combined into one, and they have been. So let's change this just a slight bit here. This one was fine. We're going to just come down here, and we're just going to change the way that line was just a little bit here. So we're going to click here. We're going to click here and here. It's minimal difference, right? But it was necessary. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to click here, here, and here. So it's kind of like this L shape going on. I just need to clip away that outside border is what I'm trying to get done here. So let's go ahead and select this and this. Now what's happening here? That is one. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this again. And go back to difference. And then do the same thing up here. Difference. So now this piece, nope, still not separate. All right. So sometimes Inkscape can just be difficult for us, but that's no problem. We just handle it a little bit differently here. So instead of difference, what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and select this again. So this piece is all one. All right, so let's just do it differently then. We're just going to go ahead and select the same thing that we had been selecting, but we're going to use this. So this is division, this is difference. So you see what it did? It just cut that piece. And we're going to do the same thing here. Well, there's a will, there's a way. Okay, and it's going to do the same thing. Now this piece here that's left over, we don't need. So we'll go ahead and get rid of it. All the way around. Let's see here, all the way up to right there. Okay. Then all of these pieces, we're going to go ahead and combine those. What do we want to do down here? All these pieces, we can combine those. And then finally, all of these pieces, we can combine those. And we'll go back to normal view here. Now these pieces here, we can't see. So we're going to raise those to the top. And we'll go ahead and fill those with white. And now you can kind of see what we've got going on here. Now, I did make a mistake. So let's see, because I combined these, but let's go back to wireframe mode so we can see this. Those paths are all there, okay? But now you cannot see those interior paths. So how do we deal with that? Well, there's a couple of different ways to do it. So let's go back here. There's a couple of different ways we could do it. The long way around is to double click on a path here. Maybe, let's take a look here. Maybe we didn't grab those in. Oh, okay. So it says we didn't grab those interior pieces. So let's go ahead and just grab them. So you can see they are all selected now. And so now if we combine those, now they do all drop out. That's strange. I thought I had all of it selected, but I guess not. So now our artwork is pretty well set up to be placed on our notebook. So let's go ahead and open up our notebook template here. And I have to find it because I don't know where it is. So let's find our notebook templates. Let's see here. This one should work. Let's pull it over here. Let's see. No, that's not the one we want. Well, we might just have to borrow one of these, I think is what we're going to do here. So we will go ahead and ditch all of those because I can't find my blank. That's our clipboard.
Thought it was on your desktop.
I don't think so. I don't know what I did with it. All right. So this is our finished notebook size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, this is the 8 one. So this will fit a A5 size paper. So we are going to mirror this. So let's mirror this one. And then we'll make a copy here, and this will become our front, basically. So this one is going to go on here. So we'll move that to the top, and we'll scale it down. We'll line these two up. And let's go ahead and just shrink it down a little bit here. So basically what I want is about the same distance here, top of my mushroom, same distance here. So that looks good to me. And then over here, what we're going to do is we'll grab all of this. We'll scale it down just a little bit here and just fit it. We'll move all of that to the top as well. And we'll just kind of fit this in place. Now, let's go into wireframe mode just so we can see what's happening here. I'm not too concerned. You see how this kind of overlaps? That's fine. That's what we want, actually. So I'm just going to make sure that, see how it's overlapping up top here? It's overlapping on this side. I'm happy with all of that. We're just going to leave that the way it is. Now, down here, we're going to make this maybe slightly smaller. And same thing, I want to center it from tip of the mushroom over here. So let's just slide it over a little bit. And then here, we'll slide it down here a little bit, something like that. All right, so let's go back to normal mode here so we can see what's going to happen here. Now, where this is overlapped, right here, what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to take our green notebook cover and duplicate it. So now you see it's on top. When we're doing cut functions, we have to have our cutter always on top. So we're going to come in here with our green. We're going to shift click this black, and wherever that overlaps, we're going to use this tool right here, which is our division tool. We're going to click that. Wherever it overlaps, that becomes the cut, okay? So now I can select this, and you see where it was slightly overlapped on top, where it overlapped here, all of our mushrooms, perfect cut, okay? So you see how that all worked? Absolutely perfectly. Now, let's go ahead and set up all of our colors, and that way when we go to create our model, we will be good to go here. So this is going to be white. And that's going to be white. This is going to be kind of like a maroonish color, as is all of this. Or red, I don't know, whatever color you decide to print it on, but there you go. Okay. So that's what it's going to look like. Now, let's go ahead and save this. And we'll just call it notebook cover. Kim wanted this specific one, so that's why we made it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and minimize this. And we're going to have to go ahead and generate the model. So there's our notebook cover. And we're going to drag and drop it to create our model. And so here is the model. And let's go ahead and go into Bamboo. And the process is the same, really, no matter what product we're working with here. So the first thing is we're going to split this up. So we're going to right click and choose split to objects. Okay, so now we've split it up. We're going to add a new build plate because we can't put both of them on one. So then we're going to go ahead and take these two and just slide it on over. And then this one here, and slide this one on over. Let's go ahead and take these and right click and merge those two together. And then the same thing over here. Let's shift click all of these and right click and merge those all together. Now let's go ahead and set this all to 1.5 millimeters because that's what I typically print my notebook covers. And let's go ahead and slice this one, and so we could see what our problem is going to be. We do have an issue. So, sliced okay, but we have an issue. If we look underneath, yikes, the design goes all the way through, okay? And that's not what we want, okay? So just be mindful of that. Now, this is going to print face down, so let's go ahead and deal with that right now. I'll tell you what, let's not do that. We'll hold off on that just for 1 second here. So we could see that this prints all the way through, and that's not ideal for what we want to do here. So we're going to take this white piece here, and remember how we did previously with the badge rail? Well, we're going to do the same thing here with the notebook. So we're going to alt click this piece, Control C, Control V, but that piece we're going to make 1 millimeter thick, okay? And then we're going to go ahead, because it's 1 millimeter, we're going to go ahead and set the Z height to 0.5. 0.5 is obviously half of 1, okay? Now let's go ahead and flip it. 180 degrees. And now when we slice it, it's face down, but notice the back side is now solid, right? But we still have our logo on the front side. And that's obviously what we want. So that was taken care of. So now we need to do is basically the same thing on this side here. So we're going to go ahead and select everything and make everything 1.5 millimeters to begin with. Okay, and then we're going to alt click on the notebook, Control C, Control V, and then we're going to go ahead and take that and make it 1 millimeter thick. And then we're going to set the Z height to 0.5. And then we're going to take the whole kit and caboodle and flip it over because we want that to print face down. And then when we slice this build plate here, on the back side here, you see it's solid white, which is what we want for the inside of our notebook. And then we have our cover. But aha, I'm kind of glad this happened because you see, we have an issue. Where is our design? Where did that go? Well, let's find it here and find out it's there, but why can't we see it? So let's figure that out. We lost Kim for a second.
I had to step away for a minute, Kevin. This Shalom, that happens to me a lot right there.
What's that?
I can't find my image when it gets to there. It's like it flushes in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's good reason for it. We just have to look at the situation and figure out exactly what that reason is. But what's happening here is, first of all, we'll select this assembly. And if as long as we understand how the slicer works and what it expects of us, usually things are pretty easily resolved. So what we really have to pay close attention to is how our parts are here, because this really matters. So I'm going to look here, find this part right here. So that's going to be my first step here. And you can see that that is the first part. And that is where our issue is, okay? This should not be our first part. Now, you'll notice that the other parts are after this white. You see that? And that's really important. So if we just slide this little guy down one spot, so let's slide him down here. And now you'll notice the cover is the first part, and then we have our reds, right? And then we have more white, okay? Now, if we slice the plate, we have what we expect on the back. And then on the front, lo and behold, we have what we expect on the front as well. So it's go ahead.
When you got ready to move it, was that control and something when you moved it?
No, when you're moving parts here,
Mhm.
it's literally just drag and drop. So now you see the covers down here. So yeah, it's just it's just drag and drop in whatever order you want here.
Okay. Thank you.
But that's why that little guy was in the objects list afterwards. And so the way this works, the way the slicer thinks, is this is the order that the order of importance, I guess, would be a good way to describe it. So if, for example, if we took this cover right down here, this one here, and let's move it up the layer stack just to prove a point. So you see how the covers are back to back? Let's go ahead and slice it. See now how it's bled back through again? That's because of the order of importance. The red is taking the predominant role because it is in the stack after our white covers. But we want this white cover to take the predominant role over the red. So because we want a solid white background. So now when we slice it, because that was the last thing in the list, that is the piece of most importance. And so whenever there was a conflict, the slicer says, okay, well, what's the last piece? Well, the last piece is white, then white prevails. So that's just how the slicer thinks. So when you have pieces that are definitely in your model that disappear, when you go to slice, it's probably somehow related to how they are here in the object stack. So we'll go ahead and save this file. And now Kim can go to print. All right, now I do have, what's our time here? Okay, so I do have one other project. Go ahead. Somebody had a question?
I was saying thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem. No problem. I'll get that posted for you so you can get going on it. So I want to go back to our chats here. And some of these I probably will make a separate video for, but this one in particular right here, I've kind of broken this up into two chats. We'll look at this one first, and then we'll look at the next one here. So my original image is missing from this one. But essentially, this was posted in that mascot chat on the Patreon. This was one of the mascots that was posted. And I thought this would be an interesting one to do because it's more complex. And hopefully, as we work through this one, you can kind of get your mind thinking in a 3D aspect, because we really have to know what our end goal is here for the finished product in order to be able to create the artwork accordingly, right? And it doesn't matter what software we would be designing with. You know, if we were using Tinkercad or Fusion or any 3D modeling software, we have to visualize how this would ultimately be created in order to create the appropriate artwork. So let me walk you through generically what I want to do, and then we'll figure out exactly how to actually do it. So this circular piece, I want to be, you know, a certain thickness, but I want this blue piece to be thicker than the white. And then this blue piece is going to be sitting up above the orange and the white, just to make it super difficult. Why not? But then the wolf head, I want it sticking out above the circular piece. And then this, the wolf's text, I want it sticking above the circular piece and the wolf. I want this to be a little bit more proud yet. And then I do want this to also be sticking out above this, but maybe not quite as extruded as wolves. So this is be a fairly complex thing to do. But by doing it, you know, we could do it just like what I would call very, very basic, right? We could do it all in one layer and, you know, not have all this craziness going on. But if you can visualize it of what I'm saying, and then we can actually bring it to life, then I think the end result, you'll say, okay, I see why it's worth taking that extra effort, because it just looks so much better than just something that's flat, you know, one layer on top of another on top of another, and what I would consider basic. So what I did is I approached this in a variety of different ways, just to show you how you might approach something like this that's a little bit more complicated. How could we dumb it down and simplify it a little bit? So the first idea here was to take the outline for wolves. I wanted to differentiate the blue outline on the wolves from the rest of the blue outline. So I said, make the outline green. And you could see that here, you know, what the prompt actually was and then what it ultimately gave me. And then I said, oh, okay, this is all wonderful and good, but this thin blue outline around wolves, I don't want that. Okay, that's what this is saying. And so you could see here, it removed that thin blue outline around wolves. Now, if I use the vectorizer tool to vectorize this just as it sits, I could kind of sort of extract wolves separately. But I thought, well, maybe we could go at it a little bit differently. So basically what I said was, okay, just remove wolves altogether from the design and fill it in. So I told it to remove the word wolves, and I told it to remove the little paw here at the bottom. And so now it's given me this. And I thought ultimately this would be the way to go for this design. So come down here to the rest of the chat here. We're not quite done yet. So let's see here. So it gave me this. And then I said, okay, but I need the word wolves only. So it took away the whole design and just left me with so I have this. Now I have this. And then I said, okay, now just give me the paw, which it gave me just the paw. And let's see here. Then I gave it my original image again and said, hey, I need this outline. So I told it it's 150 millimeters and to add that 4 millimeter outline. And so it gave me that. And then I said, okay, this looks pretty good, but now we just need to finesse this and clean it up a little bit. And so you could see that what this one was, right? A little bit higher detail, and this one is a little bit more simplified. Okay, and so now, and you can also see how this head is kind of slid down from the circle just a little bit compared to this one. So there are some differences between these two, but this is pretty similar to what we originally started with here. And so that's what I want to show you, walk you through this creation process here, how we're going to go about creating this. I did notice too that we lost this interior design here, so we might just go ahead and do this one rather than this one. This one's a little bit too simplified, so I think I prefer this one. So we'll walk you through this process of how to put all these pieces together. So let's go ahead and first of all, let's take our image here and we're going to copy it, and we'll go into our vectorizer AI and paste it. This tool is $10 a month, but it does a really incredible job of converting all of our artwork into an SVG file. So we'll click on download, and then we'll click on download again. And let's save this to our desktop, and we'll just call it Wolves. And save. And then we'll go into Inkscape here. And we'll open up that file. There's our Wolves file here. So you can see here, we start off with a whole lot of pieces. I'm just going to move this over here. We'll get rid of our white background here. Start there. Now, if I do have another copy of Inkscape open, so let's go ahead and close that. We will be using the toolkit fairly extensively here. So here we have this black outline here, which we don't need. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. And now we start this whole process. So what we're going to do to begin with is get rid of the pieces that we know that we're going to keep. So for example, this white piece here, we're just going to turn that off for a moment. And then we have this. Let's see here, what do we want to do here? And we have this outline. So let's go ahead and we have that piece of the outline, and then we're going to shift click this piece and shift click this piece. And now we have the whole outline. Okay. So let's go ahead and merge all those pieces together, and then we'll turn all of those off. Okay. And then we're going to do kind of the same thing. So on this blue one here, this is going to be, you see that? Going to go all the way around. See here, let's pull that away again. So you see it's attached right there. And I don't think I want it attached. I want that actually to be separate. So we're going to use that trick that we used previously when we were working on Coralie's design with our pen tool. So we're going to grab our pen tool, which is the B key on our keyboard, and we're just going to click right here, 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 and here. Okay. We want no fill, but we will shift click and give it an outline. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to click right here. And because we have snapping turned on, it's just going to want to snap right to those points. Okay. So that's how we're going to cut. So in theory, that should cut it for us. So we're going to select both of them. Let's combine those into one because we can only have one cutter. And then shift click the piece that we want to cut, and then use division here. Now, if we look here, those two pieces that we wanted cut are now cut. Okay. So we can go ahead and combine those together. And now we can go ahead and turn those off. those are not combined, so let's do that quick. Now we can turn those off. There we go. Our stars, let's go ahead and select those and combine those and turn those off. These orange pieces here, we can go ahead and combine those. And let's go ahead and make those orange again. And we could go ahead and just turn those off for a moment. So you see how we're slowly but surely kind of breaking all this down into these various colors here. Now this piece here is really supposed to be this kind of dark blue, but sometimes when we combine, it changes it to black. So now this piece is back to dark blue again. You see that? So let's go ahead and just turn that piece off for a moment. Then we'll turn that piece off for a moment. This is a different color blue. We'll turn that piece off for a moment. The white piece of our ears, let's go ahead and turn those off. I'm not sure about these two pieces. Now this, yes, we can get rid of that. And we'll get rid of that. And then we can see here there's a gray piece there. Let's go ahead and just turn that off for a moment. Those pieces right here, we could slice through those. Get rid of those. There's a gray piece there I didn't see. So we're going to get rid of that piece right there. Nope, it's attached. It's attached to that piece right there. So we can go ahead with our pen tool and we'll just cut it away. So now we can get rid of this piece that we don't want. And we still have the piece that we do want. So let's just go ahead and turn both of those off for a moment. Same thing here. That little piece right there we don't want. So let's go ahead and get rid of it. Grab our pen tool again. Difference. And dispose of that. Okay. Grab our eyedropper tool to make that blue again. Looks like we have the same issue on this side though. So grab our pen tool. Trim that away. Back to difference. And this goes. And then our eyedropper tool. And now those are both back to blue again. And we could turn those off. We'll go ahead and turn those off. We'll just work our way through this whole design here. Keep the pieces that we know we want. So I know I want that one, and that one, and turn those off. And then we'll be left with just the stuff we don't want. So this we got to cut. Let's go ahead and turn that off. That gray piece. And this big gray piece, we'll turn that off too. But right here, we're going to trim that away. Trim that away. Get rid of that. There we go. That goes back to white again. And then we could turn that off. And then we know we won't need that little piece anymore. All right. So what do we need down here? Let's see here. I'm going to move this away. So there's a little piece there. A couple little pieces right there, there. So I think for right now, let's just turn that off. And we'll come back to that. I'm going to go ahead and turn that gray piece off. Got a few gray pieces here we could turn off. So all these white pieces we don't need. So let's go ahead and ditch those. These little nostril pieces, I don't think we need those. This big one, yes. And the mouth, yes. So we'll just turn those off for a moment. These gray pieces, yes, we're going to keep those. This gray piece and this one, that's all one, I guess. So we'll turn that off. This one here, yep, we could turn that off. We'll turn that off. And I'm going to say that the rest of this we can ditch. Let's look at it in wireframe mode before we ditch. I'm going to call it good. And we're going to ditch all of that. All right, so we're not sure about those two pieces, but now we've whittled it down. So all of this, we're going to say is part of our design. So let's turn everything back on. And now let's look at it again and see exactly what we need to be doing here. So this outside piece, we need to make it blue again. And then this piece here, we're going to make it blue again. And I think our stars are black as well. So we'll make it blue again. All right, so now I think we will start naming some pieces and simplifying this because we have so many parts to this design right now that we definitely need to whittle it down here. So let's go ahead and go through this and whittle it all down. Over here, you see this right here is blue, but over here it's gray. So I think what we'll do is we'll just take that piece and we'll make it blue. Just merge those two together. I'll go back and so now this here more or less looks like this one. So I think that will work. All right, so let's begin. So we're going to start here by going into part editor, and this is going to be our backplate. Okay, and let's go ahead and turn it off. And then this is going to be our outer ring. And then we'll turn it off. And then this is going to be our inner ring. And we'll turn it off. And then this will be our blue detail or orange details. And we'll turn it off. And then let's go ahead and make those stars. And we'll turn, so you see as we're doing this, each part is being named. So when we get over to bamboo, everything will make a bit more sense for us. Now, here's where things get kind of interesting. Let's turn back on, let's turn back on our backplate here. So all of these parts that I'm about to put together here, all of these parts are sitting on top of my white backplate. They're not sitting on top of anything else. So as long as they're kind of on the same plane, they can all be merged together here. Let me look here and see what we got going on here. So I just deleted a piece here, and I don't know if I should have. Let me bring it back. So you see this, when I move this piece, do you see how the design doesn't change? And I think now that this is cut through, and so what we're seeing here, I'm going to move this. Yes, so you see how that detail is still visible, but it's cut through. So I think that will work just fine for what we're doing here. So that's been cut through. Just trying to think here exactly how we want this to be. So let's go ahead and cut this little mouse shape out too. But let's go ahead and we'll use that. And so now this white is actually our backplate. You see that? Shining through. And so we can kind of do something similar with the white face here. These details, we could do the same thing. We could cut through our blue backplate if we wanted to. But in this case, we're not going to do that. We're going to just leave it just the way it is. So this is all part of the process, you know, when you're figuring out exactly how this thing is going to print. So this piece and this piece is all on the same plane. So let's go ahead and merge those two pieces. And let's just toggle this off for a moment. Okay, so those two pieces that we were questioning up here, we're just going to go ahead and combine those. So we'll go ahead and combine those there. And then over here, the same thing. This piece here, we're going to go ahead and combine that to that. Okay, and then let's go ahead and toggle that again. So only thing that we really have left here in the face of our wolf here is the other color blue, the white, and the gray. You see that as we're toggling that? So let's go ahead and name that part now. Let's go dark blue. Okay. And I guess we should have gone dark blue wolf head so we know exactly what that piece is. And let's go ahead and turn it off now. And this will be kind of our medium blue. Okay, so medium blue wolf head, and let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's grab, so this little straggler here we don't need, but you see it's attached. So let's go ahead and take care of that with our pen tool. This one right here, difference, and that will allow us to cut that piece right off of there. Let's do that over here too. So grab our pen tool. We're going to cut that piece off. If we hold down our shift key, when we make our next segment, then it will automatically be connected to our previous segment. So that's normally what I would do. And then we can cut that piece and that piece. See what's going on here. Yes, that's what I want. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now this is, I think these are dark blue, so we're just going to go with that. Let's go ahead and merge those two together, and let's just call it dark blue eyes. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and turn that off, and then let's go ahead and get rid of our back plate here. See everything a little bit more clearly. Then we have our orange eyes. So we're going to go combine those and we'll call it orange eyes. And we'll make them orange and turn them off. And then this, we're going to go ahead and combine those bits, and those are going to be called white eye details. Now we're not going to combine that white with the other pieces of white because these are sitting on top of that orange, where our other pieces are not sitting on top of that orange. So they're going to be at a different level when we go to 3D print. So you'll see how this all comes together here in just a second here. So I think the rest of these white parts we'll go ahead and combine. So we'll right click here, select same fill color. So now we've got all of our white selected. So we'll go ahead and combine all that together. And we'll just call it white wolf And then we could turn that off. And then that leaves us with all our gray bits. So we should be able to select everything that's left here and combine it. And gray wolf. And go ahead and give it a color there. And now let's just turn everything on and see what we've got to work with here. All right. So we have our basic design, and now you can see we've kind of managed all of our parts. We still have quite a few parts, but they're definitely more manageable now. So now I just have to think about exactly how this is all going to come together. I'm just surveying the damage here, figuring out exactly what I'm thinking about doing here. I want to kind of challenge us and do something kind of out of the box, because then that makes our design stand out. So this is what we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and select all of our wolf head. So let's do that. So there's our wolf head pieces. Let's duplicate them. So we're going to hit Control D, and then we're going to group all of these together. So Control G to group, and so you can see here we have this group. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an offset around this whole group here. So let's go back into our toolkit here and come to offset. Let's give this a different color, this group a different color. So we're going to do that. And how much of an offset? Let's do, let's try 4 to start with. Now we have to give it a second because there's a lot of parts here. So it has to think about it. And there you go. I think that's pretty good. Let's look at it in wireframe mode. Okay. We're going to run with that. This will at least give you an idea of kind of how I'm thinking and what I'm thinking about. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to take our group and we are going to apply our path effects. Okay. And then we can take our group here and we can ungroup it now. So we'll give it a second here. Let Inkscape catch up with us. It does take a bit because there was a lot of parts to that wolf head. So when we clicked on apply path effects, it has to go through each one of those parts and apply that offset path effect that we gave it. Come on, Inkscape. Usually it doesn't take this long, though. Case in point, when we're doing complicated steps, we probably should have saved somewhere in between there, because I'm afraid it might crash out on us. I don't know. That's one thing I wish Inkscape did a little bit better, is the auto saves because sometimes we forget to save our project. And so sometimes it messes up on us here. I don't know what it's doing. Come on. Okay. It took forever, but we finally got the job done. So so anyhow, now we can ungroup all this and we can go ahead and we'll do path and union. But I did notice a couple little spikes down here that we don't actually need. So we can delete that one and that one and that one. Okay. The rest of it looked pretty good as far as I could tell. Yes. So that took abnormally long, but I think it was worth it. We'll have to see how it all comes together in the end. But I'm going to take this and I'm just going to push it to the bottom for right now. And then we'll look at what we actually did there when we get into building the 3D model. So let's go ahead and resave this. And now the fun part. Now we can go over to Bamboo and start putting all this together and trying to make sense of it all. And this is where we really have to put on a thinking cap. We have all the parts and pieces that we need, but now we really have to put on our thinking cap here. So let's go ahead and bump over here to, I'll tell you what, first of all, we've got to create our 3D model. So there's our Wolves SVG. We'll drag and drop here. There's our 3D model. So we'll come over here to Bamboo and open that up. I was thinking that I didn't set the size of that in Inkscape. So let's go do that real quick. So we're going to take all of our pieces and resize it to the size of our height chain, which is going to be 150. So we'll resave that. That's the way to do that. And then let's go back in and we'll recreate our model. So just drag and drop it again. And then we'll reopen it. And of course, all of our colors come in. All of our pieces and parts come in. So that's exactly what we needed. And if we come over here to objects, you could see that they're all named. So we know exactly what the heck is what here. So now let's just walk you through this whole process of putting this all together. So what do we want to do first? Well, let's begin here by setting our extrusion thicknesses. Now I have to kind of make this up because I don't exactly know exactly what I want. So we'll just kind of work our way through it here and kind of guess along the way. So we're going to begin here with our back plate. And let's go ahead and set that to, 5. Okay. I don't usually use odd numbers, but we're going to use odd numbers in this case. And then for this piece here, we're going to set that to 8. And then our dark blue wolf head, the outer ring, the white wolf, the medium, the orange details, the inner ring, the gray, the dark blue eyes, all of it's going to be 2. Okay, now I don't know, we'll figure it out as we go here, but that is kind of sort of what we're doing here. This piece here, this green piece, we're going to all click it and make it white. So that is filament color number 2. And we'll start here. Now we're going to start with our Z heights. And this is mostly being made up on the fly here. So we're just going to walk you through it as best as I got it figured out in my head. So we're going to go to our move tool. That piece, we made 8 millimeters. So the Z height on that should be 4, which it is. Then the back plate here, we made 5. So the Z height on that should be 2.5, or yes, 2.5, which is half of 5. Okay. So now you can already see how that wolf head piece is kind of sticking out above, right? What I was saying before. So then let's do our outer ring, and let's set that. We set that at 2, and it's sitting on top of 5. So half of 2 is 1. So that should work out to be 6. So now you can kind of see how that's being raised. Okay. Now the inner ring, let's jump ahead to the inner ring here. We're going to do that one differently. We're going to, we used 6 before, but this time we're going to use 5. So it's still raised. I don't know if we could see this, but it's still raised above the white here, but it's not raised as much as the outer one. Okay. And then the orange. So these orange details, let's go ahead and raise those. And we might change this up a little bit, but you could see those are at 2. So let's go ahead and make those at 4.5. Now, why 4.5? Well, let me show you what I want to do here. So it is a 0.5 millimeter above white, but it's a 0.5 millimeter. Let's see if I could show you this a little. It's a 0.5 millimeter below that inner blue. Okay, so that's why I have it set like that. Then let's go to our stars. That'll be kind of our next piece to put in place. And our stars, we're going to go ahead and make those 5. Now you see when I made them 5, you see how they're kind of embedded into the white here because those are 2 millimeters thick. So if I made those 6, then that would be sitting totally on top of white. So maybe I will just go ahead and leave them 6. We'll make them a little bit thicker. I think that looks fine. Okay. So what do we got left here? I think let's go through it here. That piece, our white wolf, our medium blue wolf, orange details, our gray wolf, our dark blue eyes, our orange eyes, our white eye details. So this is basically all of the wolf pieces. Let's just move all of them up. Just an arbitrary amount, doesn't matter how much. Just so we could see exactly what we're trying to do here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we want to put these pieces on this white plate here. Okay. So we could do that kind of bit by bit if we want to. So let's go ahead and select the whole assembly, and then we'll grab our assembly tool. We'll click here, and then we'll click the bottom face of one of these pieces, and we could just zero that out. And so you see what it did there? It moved everything down. And we'll keep on doing that. 0. And we'll just keep doing it. 0. 0. Okay, and then finally we could do that. 0. And then the bottom part of these and 0. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we've got going on here. Let's see here. Is a piece missing? Let's see, what piece is that? That is our dark blue wolf head. And let's go ahead and move that up. And now I see that all of those parts that we had previously moved should have been on top of our dark blue here. So that definitely will create a bit of an issue for us, but no worries. We can fix it. So let's go ahead and take care of dark blue first. And we'll zero that out. Now, if we slice this right now, let me just go ahead and slice it for you. It's going to slice perfectly fine, and it's going to be printable just the way it is. But only part of it is going to kind of, quote unquote, have a 3D effect. So you see here, it did say slice okay. And you could see here how the wolf, right, is proud of this back medallion and all of that. But on the wolf face details, everything is flush. You see that? And you might like that, or you might not like that. You know, you may want those pieces to have a 3D effect still. So, you know, that's entirely up to you and the finished product. So I do think I want my pieces not to be flush like that. So we'll go back in and fix those pieces. But that's why it looks the way it does, because everything is on that one plane. So we're going to go back in here. This white wolf and the medium here, the orange details, the gray wolf, the dark blue eyes, the orange eyes, white eyes, all of those details. Now, what we can do is we can just move them up. So for example, if I go to my move tool here, you see they are currently at 6.75. We could make those 8.75. And what you're going to see now is you see how those are sitting on top of our blue here. You see that? And then we can kind of pick and choose. So for example, I might take my white parts here, and instead of 11, let's go ahead and make those, see what they look like at 10. So those pieces are going to be slightly recessed from our blue pieces here. And it's also slightly recessed from our gray pieces here as well. You see that? And what I might do here on these gray pieces, let me look here. Yeah, I think the gray pieces right now are dead level with the blue pieces, which is okay, but I think I would have backed that off a 0.5 millimeter. So we're going to go back in here and let's go ahead and set those at 10.5. And they'll just have a slight, you can see that right there, just a slight recess. So not everything is, you know, on the same plane here. Now these eyes, the orange eyes here, we're going to raise those. So let's go over here, and that's what's nice. We could just grab our orange eyes and also the white eye details, both of them. And they're at 11. Let's go ahead and make those 12. And then our white details, we're going to raise those even higher. So those are 12. We're going to do 12.5. So you see those are just going to sit just a little bit proud of our orange there. So there you go. Now that is a bit more of a complex example, but you could see now that we have all those different elevations, it's going to make for a really just interesting, you know, it's not going to be just a flat example there. So over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. We can't really get away with that. The only thing we could do is this secondary blue. We could go ahead and make that piece right there the same color blue, and then that would eliminate one of the colors. But you know, if they have 2 AMSs, they'd be good to go, right? Now let's go ahead and save this. Now we're not totally done. We're not totally out of the woods here, but we do have the first piece of the puzzle completed, because we still want to introduce our wolves text, right? But by creating this way, we've got a couple of different options. We could just do it like this, or we could go in and add the wolves text. Now, when we add more to it, what's going to happen? We're going to have more print time, more filament usage, more cost. So this is a way to give them a cool hype chain, but save a little bit of money. So let's show you how we can incorporate the wolves in here, and it's not going to be as hard as you think. So let's go back into our design here. We actually have to go back to chat first. So let's do that. Let's look here. So this one right here. This is what we need. So we're going to copy that and go into Vectorizer AI and paste it. So we just hit Control V when we get over to the website. All right, we're going to hit download, download again, and save as wolves text. And then we'll come in here and open this up. Let's import it, Control I. And then we'll find our wolves text right here. Okay, it comes in huge. Wait for it to catch up here. Come on, Inkscape. What are you doing to me? Sometimes I get impatient. There we go. Come on, Inkscape. Come alive. All right, so let's go ahead and ungroup it. This one won't be quite so complicated as what we had done previously. So let's take a look at what these pieces are. Let's go ahead and turn that one off. And we'll turn that one off. And let's see here. We'll turn that one off. All right. So now what we're going to do here is I just want to look at some things here. Let's go ahead and cut that. I don't think we need, let's see here. Let me think this through a second. Those little tidbits for sure. We're not going to deal with those little tidbits. Let me. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of those. Basically all the little tidbits. I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of everything. So now we should just have those. Let's go ahead and weld those together. And then we'll go ahead and turn all those back on again. And so that is our text. So let's go ahead and set those up though. So this is our wolves blue backplate. And then we'll have our orange one. And then we have a white one. And then we have our text. Now the text is not black. It's supposed to be this dark blue. So we'll go ahead and make that adjustment. And then what is this last one? This last one is just a little sliver of nothing. All right, so there you go. So now we have our pieces and parts here. Now, I want to do something extra here. So I want to take this dark blue and this orange, and duplicate them both. And then we're going to do a difference here. And let's go ahead and take that piece and make it dark blue again. So this piece, eyedropper, there we go. Now, what did we just do? We created this. I say we did. Let's see here. Maybe we didn't. What happened here? Where is this piece? I'm not sure what's happened here. Let's go ahead and delete that. I'm not sure what it did exactly. So let's just go ahead and delete that one, and we'll just do it over again and pay a little bit closer attention to what's happening here. So we're going to take our orange and shift click our blue and duplicate them both. So you see those are both duplicated. Now we're going to take our orange and we're going to cut a hole in here. So that is difference. And then that is our piece. You see that? So that's what we created, was that little ring. And then we're going to give it a different color back to dark. So this piece here is going to be our ring. We'll just call it ring. Okay. So now we have to scale this down to fit our existing design, basically. I'm going to wait for Inkscape to catch up with this again. It's not a very complicated file, so I don't know why it's struggling so bad. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see if we can get it to move. Come on. And shrink it down. I'm guessing for the width here, let's make it, I see it's in pixel mode, which we don't want in pixel mode. We want in millimeters. So let's go ahead and scale this to 150, because that is going to be the finished size anyhow. And then we could scale this text accordingly. And just be mindful of it here. It should be about 150 or so, not more than that. But we can kind of place it wherever we want to here. And I think we will go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and make it 150. See what that looks like. I think that's a little bit big. Let's do 140. And I think we'll make that work. Okay, so we don't need it to have it perfectly placed here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off all of the layers for our wolf. And let's just go ahead and save this. So we're going to save this as wolves text. And yes, we're going to replace the existing one. And then we'll come over here. We'll create our model. So now our model's been created. And let's go ahead and bring it in here, and we'll finesse it from here. So let's see, what do we want to do here? Let's go ahead and I'll tell you what, let's make a new build plate here, and we'll do our wolves text on it. So there it is. Now let's go ahead and delete this because it's acting up on us. So The reason it's acting up is because it switched to pixel mode, and it does that every now and again. And it really makes me mad that it does that just randomly. So let's try that again now. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to grab our wolves text, make our 3D model here, and let's try and re-import it. Let's see here. Now, sometimes what we'll do when it gives us this problem, we'll just create a new file. It always starts in millimeters here, and then we'll paste it into a new file, and then we'll just resave it. We're going to save it the same thing, wolves text. But now, when we bring that in, we shouldn't have that issue anymore. Let's give it a shot. There we go. Now, when we bring in that image, okay, even though all of the color information, if we hit File and Open here, let's just go ahead and tell you what, let's go ahead and save this. Let's go ahead and hit File, Open. Maybe this is the way to do it. We're going to open up this text, or this. See, when we do it this way, it all comes in as one color here. So so we are going to resave this to the desktop, and let's just call it text 2, something like that. Okay, and then we'll hit save. What I want to test here is I want to go back to our let's see, our wolves design. And what I want to test here is now when we import it, we created that 3D model. When we open the model, it came in with the right colors. When we're importing it here, it didn't. So now what I want to see is, will it go ahead and import correctly now? So see here, this text, you see, it gave us a preview and everything here. Let's see what happens when we import it. Some of the colors appear to be correct, but others appear not to be because it took on color number 1 is what the issue is here. So this piece here is supposed to be color number 5. And then what else do we've got going on here? Our wolves backplate, that should be 5. And let's see here, our ring. Okay, so yes, so our ring here, now we have to decide how thick this is going to be. So let's just go ahead and just drag and drop it over here and get this into position here and figure this out. Go ahead and go Control 1. So you see? And let's just go with it right there. Okay. So how thick does this need to be exactly? Well, in order to find that out, let's go ahead and alt click this piece and this piece and look at the height, 11.5. Okay. So at a minimum, I want let's go back over here. At a minimum, I want the wolves backplate here to be, it's already 10, okay. And the ring here, let's go ahead and make that, what do I want to do? Let's make it 4. And then let's set that at 12. Now you can see that is going to be proud of the rest of the design, which is what we wanted anyhow. Okay. And then so let's go back here. And we may change up these colors a little bit, but for now, we're just going to run with what we've got here. Our wolves backplate. This is says orange backplate. Let me go back here. What color was that? Oh, that was dark blue. Okay. So this piece here should have been color number 3 to begin with, and so should our ring. So that makes more sense now. Yes, and it looks better too. Okay, so then our orange back plate should be orange, which is color number 5, and it is going to be extruded 2, and let's set that at 11. So now you can kind of see how that is all going to work. So it's coming together here. Our white back plate, let's go ahead and extrude that too. But then we're going to set that at 11.5. Let's see here. White back plate, color number 2. Okay. That is what we want. And then finally here, we have our wolves text, which is color number 3. And we're going to set that to an extrusion of 2. And I forgot what our white was set at. So let's grab that and take a look here. So that's 11.5. So it's going to, so for our wolves text, let's go ahead and set that at 12.5. There we go. Indeed. So that should work out just fine. Now, let's go ahead and slice this just so you can see how it all works right now. But we're going to make one small of adjustment. Okay, so this is a good, I'm kind of glad this happened because this is a good indicator of an issue here. So first of all, there's some conflicts of G code, and that's because the wolves text that we added, we did not combine into one assembly with the wolf medallion itself. But then you also see that there's some floating cantilevers, and that is a good example of we don't have our Z heights quite right. So we will go through and take a look at that as well. But here's the thing I wanted to show you too, was this looks pretty good, you know, as far as the finished medallion piece. But if we look underneath, you see here, this is not so nice, right? So we don't want to see this blue on the back side. Now, where it's overhanging, we can't help it. But where it's not overhanging, I would prefer that not to be blue there. Okay, I would prefer that to be white. So we already dealt with that a couple of times tonight. So to fix this, we're just going to all click this piece, copy and paste. And now it's the last piece in the puzzle here, but we're going to go ahead and only extrude this maybe, I don't know, 1.5 millimeters. And then we'll set the Z at 0.75. And that'll fix that problem. So let's go ahead and reslice it, just so you can see that that problem is now resolved. And it's the last piece in the puzzle here. So, it did not fix it though. And I suspect I know why. Because this has not been merged together yet. And so that is part of the reason why we're having the issue we're having anyhow. But yes, once we merge that together, then we'll be able to fix that. All right, so now what we have to do is figure out why we're having issues with Z heights here. So let's just go through the parts here, and then we'll figure it out. It says right here, jump to wolves, okay? So it is, so in regards to the floating cantilevers, it says that the issue is this piece. The issue is not the wolves text like I had originally thought. So our Z height issue is over here somewhere. Let's see if we can see where it's at. I'm guessing it's somewhere around here. How do we want to do this? Okay, so our issue is over here somewhere. All right, so let's just kind of work our way through here so we can understand this. So first of all, the big white piece is 8 millimeters thick. And so this, which is our dark blue wolf head, it is 2 millimeters. So really, it should be either at 9 or less than 9. So let's see where it's at. It's at 9. So that is definitely 100% correct. Now, the next piece here, you could see it's already embedded into the blue. So I'm sure it's not the white. The white is not the issue. Now, let's take a look at this blue, the dark blue here. Now, let me see if I could see this a little bit more clearly. Okay. So let's walk through the Z here so we understand this. So this piece is what? At 9. And it's 2 millimeters thick. So the finished height of this piece is 10. So let's just verify that by alt-clicking and alt-clicking and going to scale. It is 10. Okay. So this piece right here has to be 11 or less. So it's at 2 for the thickness. So then that means it has to be 11 or less. And it's at 11. So that piece is definitely perfect. Now this gray is sitting on top of the dark blue, and it has to be 11 or less. And you can already see it is because it's partly inside the blue. So it's at 10.5. So we're good to go there. And same thing here. This white we already confirmed was less than 11, which it is. Okay, so no issues there. So what's left here? Well, a dark blue, we could take a look at that. That's embedded. So I think we're good to go there. That's at 11. So we're good to go there. That's embedded. And that is embedded as well. Well, that's interesting. Okay. So what about this piece? That piece here should be 6.5. And I think that's where our issue is. Let me think about this for a second. That's probably where our issue is, right here. I don't think this can be 6.5. This is 5. This piece here should be at most 6. Can't be 6.5 unless we make the extrusion a little bit thicker. Let's see if that fixed it, which I bet it did. Now I accidentally moved something along the way here, though. This piece right here should be at 6. Pretty sure that was it. And the reason that should be at 6 is because this is 2 millimeters sitting on top of our 5 mil backplate. So half of 2 is 1. That makes it 6. Devil's in the details, folks. Okay. Says there's still floating cantilevers. So that did not fix it. All right. Well, that was one of our issues for sure. What about our stars? Where are we at there? Our stars are at 6. So that is correct. Okie dokie. let's do this. Let's slide this over here for a second because we know all that is correct. Let's reslice this plate. Make sure. Okay, so there it says the slice is okay. So our issue now is over here. Let's look. Let's slice it and make sure our issue is over here. Nope. It says our slice is okay there too. Well, all right then. So if each one of those slice okay, then they should slice okay together too. So let's reline this up wherever we want it here. And let's go ahead and take that and this one and right click and merge. So I just selected the one, control click the other one, merge them two together, and then slice. Ta-da! Slice okay. That means all of our Z heights and all that monkeying around is all taken care of. So there we go. Our pendant is now complete. But you can also see that this is, lots of different layers and lots of different things going on. This was just a more involved project here. Now, if we wanted the little paw, could we add it here at the bottom? We could. I think I'm just going to leave it just the way it is, though. So let's go ahead and save this. And we will go back in here. And we'll go ahead and generate the whole kit and caboodle again. So there is our pendant. We'll do our keychains and everything. We'll just go ahead and create it. And let's take a look at it here. I'm interested to see the keychains in particular. There's a lot of really tiny pieces. So I'm interested to see how those turned out here. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to fix our colors here. So color number 1 is really going to be color 5. So it'll be this kind of darker blue. Let's see here. How are we going to do that? Let's do it this way. So what we're going to do here, this is a little trick I learned, is we're going to select one of the pieces here. So actually color number 5, and we're going to click more colors, and we're just going to add this as a custom color. So you see how that's been added as a custom color? So now we can come over to color number 1, more colors, and pick that color. And now color number 1 is going to be that color. But really what I want is color number 2 to be that color. And then the detail color here can be color number 7 here. So you see color number 7. So what we'll do is we'll do the same thing. We'll select that, more colors, add custom color. Okay. And then we'll come up here to, what's it, color number 1 or 2? Now I don't remember. Let's do 2. More colors. Nope. I had it right to begin with. So we'll go, this one is going to be the orange color. And then we'll come back here to color number 5. We'll add the custom color. And then we'll set that. That's the way I want it. Okay. So then we can take this piece here, and that's going to be white. So that's color number 4. But you see here we have doubled up our orange and we doubled up our dark blue. We did that previously as well. So basically what we want to do is every color, every part that is 7, we actually want to turn it to 1. So we just come down the list. There's a 7. Control click. There's a 7. There's a 7. That's it. All those have to be color number 1. And now the double orange has gone away. Now we need to do the same thing with color number 5, needs to be 2. So there's 5, there's a 5. There's quite a few 5s. 5, 5, 5. There's another 5. More 5s. All those need to be color number 2. And so now we've gotten rid of that extra color as well. So we have a dark blue, a medium blue, gray, white, and orange. That's what we need. Now, what we need to do here is we're going to take all of our medallion pieces here, and we're just going to slide it up a little bit. We need to make a little room here. So let's do that. We'll start right here. And we'll go all the way down to the bottom here. And we could just slide this whole medallion up just a little bit, as much as we can. That's about going to get us maxed out there. But you can see we don't, well, yeah, I guess we do have enough room. Just enough room there for our prime tower. Now, if you hadn't seen this previously, if you do need to adjust our prime tower, we can. So if you do need to do that, we can do that. So let's go over to our global settings here and come over to others. And you see here where it says prime tower. We just come down here and uncheck rib wall here. That will make it smaller. And then if we come up here, we have max width. If we change it lower, it goes vertical. That's less than 35. But if we do more than 35, then it goes horizontal. See that? But as soon as we click on the rib wall again, it'll kind of snap back to its original size. And for us, it'll fit. So we don't have to really worry about it. But if you do need to stretch it out because you don't have much space on the build plate, that's how you would go about doing it. Now, I am interested to see down here. So you see what it did here. This is kind of interesting. So what we have to do is we have to delete these. And the reason we have to delete them is because our ears kind of stand up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and slide this down a little bit. And also, this is kind of a special case situation here. We can change this to color number 4, and we could leave it that thick, which for this design, I think it's okay. Or we could change that thickness to the same thickness as this piece. This piece right here is currently 2 millimeters. I think that would be a little skinny for our keychain holder. So we'll just go ahead and leave it just like this. We'll pull that out just a little bit there. And we'll just leave it like that. I think that'll be fine. It looks fine. So let's go ahead and slice this plate. I want to see what this looks like finished. If it looks pretty decent in our preview, and it actually kind of does. Now, you see here, there's some little white areas here and there. It's not terrible. It looks better than I thought it would. And this is the standard. But if we use our cap plate profile is what I would usually use for keychains. Let's take a look at it now. Ooh, much cleaner. You see that? You see the difference there? Much cleaner that way than what we previously had. So I would definitely go with it this way. And this is just saying that the prime tower is outside the build plate. That's all that's saying. So now that we have this one in place, now we could just go ahead and paste Control-C, Control-V, and then we'll go ahead and delete that one. And now we have a whole bed of keychains ready to go for us. And then this here, we can go ahead and I guess we'll make those white, whatever color And then up here, we have to adjust this a little bit too. Doesn't need to be sticking out that far. So we'll just slide it down a little bit. And we'll go ahead and make it 4 as well. And the reason that I make these back plates, typically I'll make the back plate 8, is because this piece here is only 4.8, but the Cuban piece over here, you see how this piece, you see how this is sticking up above? The Cuban piece is 6.2. So that's why I make it 8, so that the back plate is always thicker than this medallion piece. But in this case, it works out. It looks fine. But that's why I do make it 8 to begin with, is because of that Cuban connector being so thick, thicker than 6. All right, so there we go. Any questions? I know that one was kind of a more in-depth one. Bit more complicated. So yeah, I'm going to work very diligently on the toolkit. I got a couple of more tools that I want to incorporate into it. That envelope tool that I showed you earlier tonight is going to get added. But hopefully I can get the Mac version up to snuff and get them both released at the same time. That's what my goal is. Any other questions about this? I don't know if we have any Silhouette Studio users in the house tonight, but if you are having issues with converting Silhouette Studio files, if you could send me the Silhouette Studio file that you're struggling with so I can test it. I'm not a Silhouette Studio user, so I only have a few Silhouette Studio designs to work with, but all the ones I've tested all came out as expected, so I haven't had any issues with converting. But I don't have very many files to test either. So I will get all of these class files posted tonight, right after class. So they'll be downloaded on the Patreon. And then when Google sends me the video, I'll get it posted to the YouTube channel. And I'll be back at it tomorrow getting the toolkit fixed up. Any other questions? I definitely encourage you, if you have designs that you want to see done, that you need done, definitely get them in for Monday's class. Tina, you have a question?
It's regarding the tool kit that you have been doing. Because I've been watching you go through different stages. And one of them was when you was making it where we can just click and tell it hype chain and it will automatically put the X and Y's and Z's and stuff. Are you still going to drop that portion of the toolkit? Or we can just click it and tell it, okay, we wanted to do the hype chain, the key chains, can opener, and we won't have to do anything but just create our SVG and say like Inkscape and drag and drop.
Let me go ahead and open up a file here that we did tonight. We're going to use the Clark example. So remember this design that we did tonight. All right. Now, this piece here, that's okay. That's our ring. All right. So let's go ahead and make that the ring. Let's just go through these pieces real quick here. So this piece here is going to be our ring. And then this piece here is our back plates. And then this piece here is our Lark text. And then this piece here is our C. And then this piece here is our, let's just call it our logo. All right, so now we've named all of our parts. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to set all of our extrusion thicknesses and Z heights, but we're going to do that right here in Inkscape. So let's go ahead and do that. So here, this is going to be for a height chain. So it's going to be 8 and 4, just like we did in Bamboo, right? And then our Lark text here, that is going to be 2 and 8. And then our C, let's go ahead and do that at 4. And what do we want for the Z height here? Let's go 10. And then our logo, we'll do 2 and 8. And then finally our ring, let's go ahead and do that at 2 and 9. Okay. So now we've specified all of our extrusions and Z heights here with the toolkit. So now, instead of using the exporter that we did previously, we can click on this button right here. And let's actually save this as a different file now. So we'll call it Clark Complete or something like that. Okay. So that won't compete with our existing file. So now if I click on generate, it will go ahead and remember when I said it didn't like it when we had extra copies open? That's why. Let's see, do we have any other copies open? We do. So we have this one open too. All right. We'll just give it a second here. It's not going to generate anything for us because we had too many copies of Inkscape open. All right, so now we'll go ahead and click on generate again. And now you see it did complete our project for us. So now if we come in here and open up that project, see here, it is where? It's right here, Clark Complete. So you see, it comes in all the various different thicknesses. So all that work that we did previously in Bamboo, now all of that is already done, right? And then we slice the plate. And it says slice OK, so we know all of those Z heights that we specified in Inkscape do in fact work. And then of course we can come in here to what you were talking about is we right click on the generate here, and then that's where you have all these kind of automated tools. A couple classes back, we showed you how to use the lampshade builder that's in here. But then if we click here on our height chain builder, we click on Clark Complete here. That's going to be our pendant. And then when we click create, it creates the layout for us. And then so if we open this up, we want the Clark Complete height chain. You see, it's already set up for us. So when the toolkit comes out, when we right click here, you're going to have the height chain builder that we just showed you, and you're going to have the lithophane lampshade builder. Those two will definitely be active because those are already fully functional. These other ones for the can opener, the straw topper, and the parametric box builder, those have not been implemented yet, but we are going to implement those. I just haven't done it. Now, will those be implemented before we release the toolkit? Probably not. So, but those are new features that will be added after the fact. So hopefully that answered your question. So we will have we'll be able to do height chains and keychains. and lithophane lampshades, but not these other three. When you click on them, you see it says coming soon. So they don't do anything right now. But there are a couple other tools and then a couple of refinements that I want to make sure that the existing tools work a little bit differently. One of them you saw tonight when we use this union function. If you notice that when we do that union function, it sometimes will change the color on us. That's an Inkscape thing. So these tools right here are basically doing what Inkscape already does. It's just putting them all together in a more compact, more user-friendly spot. So like this tool right here sends stuff to the top, or right-click and we send stuff to the bottom, right? Well, in Inkscape, if we wanted this letter C to the bottom, we could come up here to Object, and we choose Lower to Bottom here, and it lowers it to the bottom. Okay, raise to the top. But to me, it's just easier just to click that button and do the same thing. So, but with this union button, when we're selecting parts to merge into one, and then it changes the color on us, that's really annoying. And I noticed that did it a lot tonight. So I will update the code to make sure that we find out what the color is before we merge them. And then when we merge them, make sure it's the same color afterwards. So I can go into the code and change that and add that extra step. But if we were to use the union command, that's what this button is. If we came up here to path and union, Inkscape would do the same thing. It would automatically change the colors sometimes on us. So these can enhance the Inkscape behavior a little bit better. So I have my work cut out for me, but we'll get all the changes made and hope, like I said, hopefully this time next week we'll have it ready to go for PC and Mac, and you'll be able to, because the PC version is 95% there. I just got to finish the PC version completely, and then I'll tear into the Mac version and make sure the Mac version's up to snuff as well.
Hey, Kevin, I came in a little bit after you started. Did you talk about the different tiers at the beginning?
I did, but we can cover those again.
Okay,
So we have a $10 tier that is just for files only. And when I say files only, everything but class files. You have to be a baddie tier member or a really bad baddie tier member to get class files. Now the baddies and up get all the files that I post to Patreon, whatever they are. The baddies, if you join tonight before we click over to tomorrow, then all the automation tools that we come out with, not only for Inkscape, but also, you've seen some automation tools for Blender as well. And as we get into more Blender topics, you're going to want those Blender tools, because we're making tools specifically for Blender that don't require virtually any Blender knowledge. That's the purpose of the tools. There's certain things that we can do in Blender that we cannot do in Inkscape, and we kind of showed that with making lampshades and the candlesticks we did the other night. I've got some really interesting projects coming up that we're going to be using Blender for. But the idea with the tools in Blender, very, very minimal Blender knowledge, because most people aren't going to take time to learn Blender. So, but there's certain things that we need Blender for. So if you join tonight, then you will get, it's $20 a month, and you will get any automation tool that we come out with going forward. And then you saw we have a new software level 1, software level 2. And the difference is, if you want to save some money every month and you just want a specific tool. So if you just want the toolkit, for example, it's just $10 a month. That's what software level 1 is. You get to pick one tool, whatever that tool is. $10 a month. And then if you want all the tools that we come out with, it's $20 a month. That's the software level 2 is. Now, if you are a baddie tonight, you're kind of grandfathered in. We're not charging you anything extra. So it's just $20. You'll get all automation tools and all of the live classes and all of the class files. Starting tomorrow, you could be a baddie with the software, but then it's going to be $30 a month. And you'll get all the automation software, but it costs you extra $10 a month. So that is the different options.
Okay, so as long as I'm a baddie tonight, I'm a really baddie tomorrow still.
Exactly. Right.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. All the baddies are kind of like grandfathered in. Correct. Yep. So, yeah, we didn't want to charge you any extra. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah. And if later on, as if you feel like, oh, I don't need the training classes and I don't need the class files, and you just want to downgrade, you can just downgrade to the $10 tier and choose, whatever, piece of software you want. So that is a future option. Because if you're only using the toolkit, for example, then, but the toolkit as of right now doesn't have a Silhouette Studio converter built into it. So if you're a Silhouette Studio user still, then you'll need that Silhouette Studio converter. We are, I am going to do some, because I went ahead and bought Silhouette Studio because I needed it to test with some of the things I'm doing for Silhouette Studio users. But I do want to create a series of videos to just show, this is how we do it in Silhouette Studio. You're used to this way. This is how we do the exact same thing in Inkscape. Because I really feel like the Silhouette Studio people are really missing out on some of the basic things that we can do here in Inkscape. I'll give you one just real basic example. In Inkscape, just like in Silhouette Studio, let's see, do I have Silhouette Studio open? Let me open it up real quick. Because to me, as somebody who sits and designs every day, day in and out, I can draw the differences almost immediately. When I went into Silhouette Studio, there's several things that I noticed almost instantly that it's like, man, how would I design if I was solely using Silhouette Studio? So let me go ahead and just open up an image here so we could see it. Let's see here. What one do we want? Let's see here. Okay, here's a good example. Now this is a Silhouette Studio file. And we're going to come over here and open up our layers panel. And so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and we have all of our layers. So you see all of these bits and bobs here. One of the things that you probably saw me do even tonight quite a bit is turn things on and off. It's sometimes easier to make selections. It's sometimes easier in our brain just to be, hey, I need to get rid of this. I need to turn this piece off so I can just focus on this other piece. Well, in Silhouette Studio, there's really no quote unquote easy way to do this that I know of, except for, so here you see here we have a layer, right? And then we have several pieces within that layer. Now we can toggle off a layer, right? But we can't toggle off the individual pieces within that layer. So what we would do is let's just say, for example, I wanted this red ring gone, right? I could drag and drop it to a different layer and I could turn that layer off. And so see, this layer here is inside this layer. So I could just drag this whole thing up like this. And then I could toggle just the outer ring by itself, right? I say I can. What is this piece? Okay, that's our main backplate. There we go. So see, I could toggle that off, but I have to put it on a separate layer. I can't just toggle off the piece. Where here in Inkscape, we have the exact same thing. You know, we have our layers, but we can toggle off each individual piece, or we can just come up here and toggle the whole layer. So that's just one little thing that I use in practically every design I make that I can't do in Silhouette Studio. But you know, it's just one of many that I've discovered. So because the two programs are so similar, you know, and obviously Inkscape is free. So if you're brand new to 3D printing, definitely I would use Inkscape. I wouldn't buy Silhouette Studio. Not for design anyhow. Now, if you have a vinyl cutter or something and you have it anyhow, that's one thing. But the program, the two software programs are so similar in how they function that I think once Silhouette Studio users see that, oh, I have the exact same function in Inkscape, it works the exact same way, then I could just use Inkscape and then have all of the other things. You know, the toolkit here only works in Inkscape. These are Inkscape tools. These aren't Silhouette Studio tools. So to take full advantage of the toolkit, we need to be in Inkscape anyhow. But I know some Silhouette Studio users are a little bit scared to come over to the dark side here. But you don't need to be, because the two programs almost work almost exactly the same. So I'm going to be making some videos just to kind of draw those conclusions so you could see firsthand how similar the two softwares are. Because there's only a handful of functions. You see these icons right here? There's only a handful of functions that we even use when we're doing our 3D design work. They're all right here. You know, we have snapping. Now, I don't believe in Silhouette Studio, we don't really have an outline view in Silhouette Studio like we do here in Inkscape. But union and difference and division, combining, you know, when you create a compound path, release a compound path, that's what this button is. You know, send to the top, send to the bottom. We have all that in Silhouette Studio. That's what that button does. Down one, up one. Now, I don't think Silhouette Studio has that, where you can just move a part down one piece. And I know Silhouette Studio doesn't have this one because Inkscape doesn't have it. But I made a custom where we can select two pieces and put one directly on top of or below another. And that could be real helpful when we're doing our design work. Silhouette Studio does not have these two functions. These are custom Inkscape functions that I created for, you know, doing a specific task. So, yeah. So there's lots of things that we'll be able to do here in Inkscape that we can't do in Silhouette. We just gotta get you unscared, because otherwise the main functions, they all work the same in both programs. It's just a matter of where to find them. So if that's all the questions for tonight, we invite you to get your designs in. I had quite a few people reach out today about doing their designs. We could do them on Monday. You know, you don't have to pay me if we do them in class. So if you have something you want to see demonstrated, send me the details on an email and send me your artwork example, and we'll see if we can get it done in class on Monday.
Hi, Kev. So I resent you the a better image of my design.
Who's talking?
Monique.
Oh, okay. You emailed it to me?
I sent it in the Patreon.
Okay.
So you want me to email it? I'll email it to you.
Let me look here. So did you post it to one of the chats?
Yes.
What chat did you post it to?
I think it's the chat with that you was doing the mascots in.
Okay. Last one I see posted was a bulldog by D. Davis. I don't see one from Monique.
Yeah,
Oh, here it is. Here it is. I
underneath.
see. I see. Okay, so the little cornbread guy.
Yes,
I got you. So you want that in a tap to pay wand.
yes.
Got you. Okay. Yes, I will. I will. Here's better image. Okay. What I'll probably do, Monique, then, is I will go ahead and make it, but I'll make a video, so you don't have to wait till Monday.
Okay,
I'll
that'd be
just
great.
make a recorded video, and so you could see how we would do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Monique, how many colors?
I'm not too sure how many colors is in the. So it's.
It looks like more than 4. So, so I didn't know if you had 2 AMSs or.
No, I only got 1 AMS. If we could break it down to 4.
Okay. All right. Well, I will see what we can do on that. See what it looks like with just 4 colors, but. Or you can get you a second AMS and we'll do 8. This will be a good reason, a good excuse to get the second one.
I know, right?
I have a really good holder for 2 AMSs if you need it.
I don't have room for a second AMS.
I'm
But
spoiled. I have 4.
4 AMSs?
Yes, and this is just a hobby.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you are spoiled.
I'm crazy. Yeah. I'm old and spoiled. That's what you're supposed to be, right?
Yeah, well, I'm old, but I'm not spoiled, and I don't like 3D printing. Isn't that interesting?
That is
I like
designing.
I like designing, but as far as actually printing, at this print that I got going on right now is 22 hours. It's like, oh my goodness. Now, fortunately, it's almost done, and it's not had any issues, and it looks great. But 22-hour print, that's a long print.
That is a long one. I like to print. It's fun.
But my kids I like making stuff for the kids and things like that. But I guess I don't mind printing, but not for money. Like if I was printing for money, I don't know how people make money printing.
Yeah, I don't
Because
sell anything, so that would be hard for me too.
you got to have a whole bucket load of printers running to make money, because if one print that I'm printing takes 22 hours, I mean, I'm gonna have to charge a pretty penny.
Yeah, and I'm a perfectionist, so if something's messed up a little bit, then it's not good. You have to redo it. So
Exactly, that's my problem too. Is
it's hard.
I'm very OCD about stuff. So
Me too.
yep. All right. Well, I guess I'll let you go. And my secret project, I hope to have ready on Monday. I posted to the Facebook group earlier a couple of pictures of my secret project. But so hopefully I'll be able to release that for you on Monday. But it's going to be a long print. I used a very tiny layer height, 0.8 layer height, because I wanted maximum quality. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close this. See here. Turn off this recording.